audible to you all? Kindly use the chat box so that we can start with today's class. Am I audible, students? Am I audible, students? You can use the chat box whether am I audible or not so that we can. Okay, today we are going to start with a new chapter, that is chapter 5, Separation of Substances. Before we begin with lesson, here I have activity for you. Look at this picture carefully and you are going to tell me what these people are doing. Okay, the mother, father and the daughter, what all these people are doing. Observe this picture very carefully and you can use chat box to give your answer what these people are doing. As you can see in the picture, father is straining the tea through with the help of a strainer, right? So what the father is doing? Father is separating the tea leaves from the tea so that he can drink only tea. Okay. Now, what about the mother? What she is doing? What she is doing, mother? Mother is also straining something. I think she's straining flour, a kind of flour you can see. So what she is using? She is using a strainer again to separate any kind of impurities from the flour. What the daughter is doing? What the daughter is doing? She is also using her hand. She is separating stones from the grains, right? Some kind of grains are there in that plate and I think she must be separating them. Okay, so if you observe this picture carefully, you will find the people that you can see in this picture are doing something or the other to separate the things which are present with them. So that means the things which are there in the surrounding, they are not in the pure form. They will always have some kind of impurity or they will always be mixed with some kind of other substances. So you need to separate these substances. So in today's class, we are going to learn about methods of separation, different methods of separation that we can use to separate the component of a mixture. So what are we going to learn in today's class? In our today's class, we are going to learn about mixture. What is mixture? Then we are going to learn the need to separate this component of mixture. Why do we need to separate these components of mixture? And we are also going to learn about different methods of separation. So let's begin with the class. Now, here you have two pictures. Picture 1, picture 2. In picture 1, you can see a bowl, colorful bowl of gems, isn't it? Gems which most of you, I'm sure, quite sure, like to eat. Are they made up of all one color? Definitely no, right? All the bowl is made up of different kinds or different colors of gems. Whereas in the second picture here, you have chura. Chura also is a mixture. So what do you mean by mixture? So in a chura you find nuts are there, okay, some other components of the chura is there, mixture is there. So all these things makes the entire stuff called chura. It's an edible stuff. Now what is a mixture? So mixture is made up of two or more components or two or more substances. So when you can call a mixture if it is made up of more than two or more substances, then we call it as a mixture. Okay. Now, so these substances which are present in a mixture, they are called component. What are they called? They are called component of mixture. For example, if I have a basket, okay, if I have a basket and in this basket apples are there, okay, apples are there in the baskets, and if cherries are also there, okay, so this is a fruit basket. Okay, in this fruit basket what is a mixture? So this fruit basket is a mixture of apples and cherries, isn't it? So these are the two different types of fruit that are there in this mixture. So each of these substance which makes the mixture is termed as what? We call them as component. Now this fruit basket which made up of two kind of fruit, both are useful. So let us see whether the mixture or the component of this mixture are useful or non-useful. So the component of mixture can be useful or it may not be useful. For example, why we need to separate them? Suppose I want only apples in this basket. Okay, so I will start sorting out or I will start removing the cherries and will keep them separate, and I will make another basket or another container making comprising only of cherries, okay, in which I am separating the useful component. Now when look at this picture, what is the lady is doing? She must be separating some stone particle from the rice grain, isn't it? Now is a stone particle which is there present in the rice, is it useful or is it non-useful? Do we eat that stone or the other husk or any other particles which are there in the rice grain? Definitely no, right? It is a non-useful or unwanted substance. So we separate mixture to separate unwanted component of a mixture, and sometimes this unwanted component can be harmful also, right? Suppose we by default if we consume the stone, it will enter our digestive system and it is going to hamper our digestive system, so it is not good for our health, so therefore we separate them. Okay, so we separate either unwanted or non-useful component which is not used, it is called non-useful component, from the useful one. Okay, so what is the useful component over here? The rice grain is useful, whereas the stones is non-useful. So the rice grain is useful component, whereas the stone is non-useful. We also separate component of mixture to obtain useful substances. In this picture, what you can see, a curd is being churned, and we are going to look at it in the later part of the lesson what is the meaning of word churning. Here the lady is churning the curd so that she will separate butter from the buttermilk. So here both butter plus buttermilk both are useful. We know that butter is also useful product, buttermilk also useful product. So here the mixture, both the component of the mixture, this mixture is made up of two component. How many component? Two component. One is butter, other one is buttermilk, but both the component are useful. Okay, both are useful for us. Okay, therefore Therefore, we are going to learn different methods of separation in our today's class. What are we going to learn? Different methods of separation in our today's class. Okay, so let's see one by one these different methods of separation. So now you realize the reason for separating of mixture. What is the reason for separating of the mixture? That either mixture will have some useful component or the mixture will have some non-useful component. And a non-useful component we don't want, useful component we want. Therefore, we are adopting different methods of separation. Let's learn the first one. The simplest method is called hand picking. What is hand picking? Hand picking. So it's made up of two words, hand and pick. So the thing that you pick with your hand is called hand picking. So the method is used for separating the small particles like dirt, stone or husk which are present in the grains. Okay, suppose there are grains, and in the grain most of the times you don't get a pure grain from the market. Always some kind of impurities will be there, so you need to separate this. So you are using your hand. You must have seen your mother or your grandmother or whoever is doing cooking part at home. You must have seen these people always before cooking they will sort out the grains and they will try to remove whatever stones or dust particles are there in that, no? So this method is called what? What is this method called? This method is called hand picking method. Okay, so hand picking method can be done using what? Of course you need your hand. So suppose there are basket, okay, and now in this basket there are different kinds of vegetable. Okay, let's see. You have potatoes. Okay, you have potatoes in this, and there are some tomatoes. Okay, so how you are going to separate these from this fruit basket? Tomatoes from the potatoes, how will you separate them? You can use your hand to separate this vegetable basket. So by using hand picking method, hand picking means using my hand, I am going to pick them one by one and I will separate them. So I will have a separate basket only containing potatoes, and I will separate the tomatoes from it, isn't it? So I have a basket containing only potatoes and I have separated the tomatoes from that basket. So in this type of mixture, that is a mixture of vegetables, for a vegetable basket, both are useful. Whereas this mixture, wherein the rice grain and some stone particles are there, so in this rice is useful and stone particle is non-useful substances. So hand picking method is usually done to either separate useful from non-useful, non-useful part, or maybe both may be useful. So in this method we use our hand. Okay, let us now move on to the next method, that is churning. Okay, I was talking about churning in the previous slide, isn't it? Look at this animation very carefully. What is the lady is doing? She is using some kind of device and she is churning the curd. What she is doing? She is churning the curd. So why the curd is being churned? Why the curd is being churned? So churning is a method of process of separation the lighter component or lighter particle of suspended solid from a liquid. So churning is basically done. So we know that for the churning we take curd. So we take a curd and we start churning them, that start swirling them, okay, with the help of a churner. Or nowadays we use the blenders. Okay, nowadays nobody is using the hand churner. Mostly we use the blender. So we churn them, we swirl them, okay, we spin them, and what does it do afterward? So the lighter particle of the curd will get separated and from the liquid. So we get separate the butter. Butter in, suppose this is having curd, so butter will get separated and you have a liquid component down, that's the buttermilk. So churning can be used to separate butter from the buttermilk. So you may get question for exam, what is churning and where do you use it? So churning is a method of separation. It is used to separate butter from the buttermilk. Okay, the churning, the method that is used in the churning is also called centrifugation, that is swirling, moving round and round. But you are going to learn about it in detail in your higher classes. Right now, we will restrict ourselves churning word only. Okay. Let us move on to the next method, winnowing. You must have seen this method. It is very common, isn't it? Now, very common. Why I said very common? Wherever people doing farming, okay, farming area, you must have seen this method of separating. What is the lady is doing? She is holding the grains in that container. Okay, this is also called soup. Okay, not the soup that you eat, a soup in a word, Konkani word. Okay, a holder in which the grains are put and you are going to just move them. Okay, and what in the opposite direction or in the direction of the wind. Okay, now what does the wind is doing? So the lighter component of this mixture will fly away with the wind. Okay, and the heavier component, that is the grains, are separated or falls downward. So this method of separating is done to separate heavier component and lighter component. What is the principle of separation here? If the mixture contains some heavy particles and if the mixture contains some lightweight particles, you can separate these using a wind. So by using wind, you can separate heavier component and lighter component of the mixture by using wind. So winnowing. Understood the meaning of word winnowing? Winnowing means what? Using wind, we are separating components of mixture. And what is the principle of separation here? Here, if the mixture contains some heavyweight particle and some lightweight particle, then we can separate. So what is a heavyweight particle? So grains are heavier in weight. Okay, so they will fall downward. Whereas the husk particle, okay, some hay particles, okay, some dust particle, they will move away because they are very light in weight. Have you seen this method? Have you seen people doing it? Wherever there are farmers or wherever there are fields, nowadays it's a harvesting time. You must have seen people have done or used this method to separate the dust particle, husk particle from the rice grain, isn't it? So this method is called what? Winnowing. So this technique is commonly used by farmers to separate lighter husk particle from the heavier seed, as I already told you. Okay. Now this method, next one is threshing. Look at this. What are they doing? What these people are doing? Look at the animation carefully. What are they doing? What are they doing? They are beating the stalk of the grains with some heavy particles, yes, with some heavy object. In this picture also, what these ladies are doing? They are holding the stalk of grains, okay, stock of grains, and they are beating on this heavy object. Why are they doing it, and what will happen after doing? So this, they are separating the grains from the stalk. Okay, so grains are attached to the stalk. We want only grains, we don't want the stalk. The stalk is a non-useful component, the grain is a useful component. To separate the grain from the stalk, we can use the method called threshing. So what is a threshing? Threshing is a method of separating grains from its stalk either by using hand or either by using a thresher. You can see in this picture, okay, this picture is using a machine. So you can do threshing either using your hand or using your machine, or you can say either you can do manually, okay, manually, or using machine. In Goa, you must have seen people, know, when after cutting the rice grain, they tie like this rods, okay, a stick, and the one man stand here, other man stand on the other side, and with the help of the legs they do it. कितें म्हणटा तेका मळणी. ऐकला तुम्ही? You must have heard this murni word, yes? So what they are exactly, what this men are doing, they are also doing a kind of threshing. Instead of using hand, they are using now leg, okay? So what is the threshing method? Threshing is nothing but separating grains from the stalk, okay? What is threshing? Method of separating grains from the stalk. Either you can use your hands, so manually, either using hand, okay, or using the legs, or in some cases, some places you find the animals are also being used, yes. So they try to arrange the stock like this in a circular manner, and a cattle is allowed to walk on that grain. So by after cattle walking on that grain stalk, what happened? The grains get separated from the stalk. So all these different methods are called threshing. Either you can do threshing by using hand, leg, using animals, or you can you can also do it mechanically by using machine. What is the machine called? What it is called? Thresher. What is the name of the machine that separates the stalk from the grain? It is called a thresher machine. Okay. Now in this picture also you see one kind of thresher. What you can see? A kind of thresher. So what does the lady is doing now? She is separating the man is separating the grains from its stalk. Okay, not the lady, the man is separating the grains from its stalk. So threshing is method of separating grains from the stalk. Okay, now let's move on to the next method, sieving. What is sieving? This is very common method, commonly used at home. Whenever you get any kind of flour, okay, from the market, okay, or of course it will have some impurities. Now you cannot use the hand picking method to separate those impurities from the flour. Okay, why you cannot use hand picking method to separate impurities from the flour? That is because the size of the impurities are very small. So the impurities particles are very smaller in size, and also the flour size is very tiny one. You cannot even hold with your hand. Therefore now you need to adopt some other kind of method. And the method that we use over here is called sieving method. What is it called? Sieving method. So what is a sieving mean? Sieving is done using a device called sieve. What is it? A device called sieve. What is a sieve mean? Okay, kind of a round spherical device like this, and down you have a mesh of net. Okay, and this mesh of net will have some tiny holes. Okay, so tiny holes are there on that mesh of net. Okay, when you pour flour, okay, when you pour flour on it, what happens? All the flour particle falls down, and only the impurities will remain on top. So this method of sieving is used to separate the particles which are of different sizes. So what is the principle that is being used in sieving? If the size of these particles differ, that is the most important factor in sieving. So how you can separate it? So you can separate a component of mixture of different sizes by using sieve. What are you using? A sieve. So you can also call a bigger strainer. You use a strainer to strain the tea leaves from the tea, right? But here, what is the difference? We are using a sieve. Here, all solid particles. What are all? All these are solid particles. So sieving is used to separate component of mixture. If the mixture is solid, then you can use a sieving method. Using a sieve, you can sieve them. You can separate them. So the fine particle will go past through the sieve or a mesh. Okay, a mesh. And whereas the bigger particle will remain over the mesh, and you can throw it out. You must have seen sieving is done at a construction site. Have you seen it? At the construction, they are sieving the sand that is being used for the construction purpose. What does the workers do? Construction workers, they try to put the sand on that net mesh, and the stones and the bigger particles remain here, and the finer particles of sand moves on the other side. So this sieving method is usually done to sieve or to separate the component of mixture which are both are solid. Okay, both mixture are solid, then you can use a sieving method. Okay, clear? Let's move on to the next method called filtration. Okay, both filtration and sieving is a similar. Both it is a similar method. Now, what is the difference between sieving and filtration? Filtration is used to separate solid particle from a liquid by passing the mixture through a filter paper or a filtration device. Through a filtration device, which is also simply called as filter. Okay, but it is also called as just filter. So filtration, in previous case we have seen sieving wherein mixture was solid. Here the mixture is solid particles if they are present in a liquid particle. Okay, then you can use this method of filtration. So what is filtration? To separate solid particle of a mixture from the liquid particle using a again separating device, and that separating device can be a filter paper, it can be a filter, or it can be any other filtration device. Just like we use a sieve or a strainer to separate what? Where you use a strainer to separate tea leaves from tea. You have this at home, isn't it? Do you have a strainer or a tea siever at home? You can check it today. You can try sieving your tea. So what is the non-useful component over here? The tea leaves are non-useful component, whereas the tea is a useful component. So in this, the tea leaf is a solid component, whereas a tea is a liquid component. So we are separating solid component from a liquid component. Now you can also use this method to separate the sand particles from the mixture of water. Suppose by chance the sand get mixed in water and you have the mixture which is made up of sand and water, you can separate it. So what you can do? You can do this kind of setup, okay, and you use a kind of paper called filter paper, okay. You need to fold that paper and you need to make a cone out of it, and we put it on this separating funnel, okay. This is called a funnel, okay, and this tripod, this is rheostat stand, and you do the apparatus setup over here like this, and you pour the muddy water through that filter paper. What will happen? Oh, clear water will come out and all the sand particle will remain over here. I will show you this activity. Okay, I'll send a video link to you later on. Okay, so this method is called what? What is this method called? It is called filtration. Understood the difference between the sieving and filtration? Okay, sieving is used to separate solid kind of mixture, whereas filtration is used to separate solid and liquid mixture. Okay, now in this animation also you can see here what has happened. The salt and sand is having three parts: salt plus sand is there. Now how you can separate? The salt and sand and water is there. So what they have done now? Salt, they have added water, so salt will get mixed in water, whereas the sand will not get mixed. And now here they are using a strainer. Okay, using a strainer, sand is separated and you have the salty water in this beaker. Okay, this is method called filtration. Using filtration we can separate it. Okay, let's move on to evaporation. What are these? What are these? Have you seen these things? These are salt pans. Salt pans. Have you seen salt pans in Goa? Have you seen or visited salt pans in your locality? There will be some kind of. What is salt pan? It is nothing but a field. Okay, rectangular fields are there, and in this rectangular field the sea water is filled. So what is filled in this rectangular field? Sea water is filled. And now what will happen to this sea water? Sea water, we know that it is a mixture of water and salt, isn't it? So now to separate it, what are you doing? You are allowing the water to go into these fields, and because of sunlight all the water will start evaporating. All the water will start evaporating, and only what is left in the field is salt, which they collect and make a huge heap over there on these edges. Okay, at the junctions, and they keep like that, and then they remove. Yes, Viraj is saying while going to pension, you come to Kalangud or you come to this side Arpura, you find many salt pans are there in the Arpura and Kalangud village. Okay, many salt pans are there. This method is called evaporation. What is evaporation? The process of conversion of water into water vapor. Water which is there in the liquid form will get converted into the gas form, and the gas form of water is called what? Water vapor. Now for helping process of evaporation, there must be some kind of heat has to be there. Yes, so this heat is being supplied by the sun. So evaporation is nothing but method of converting liquid into a gas. Okay, so liquid is converted into gas, that is water is being converted into water vapor using the sunlight or sun's heat. Morning also, when you are getting late for the school and you are having a hot cup of tea, what you do? What do? You try to put it in a big saucer, isn't it? So you are pouring the tea in the saucer. What are you doing? You are allowing the tea to get cool. Okay, how the tea will become cool? By the process of evaporation, the tea is going to become cool. Okay, by absorbing the heat, giving the heat to the surrounding, the transfer of heat, it's going to take place, and this method is called evaporation. So and we also use this method to dry our clothes in the sun, isn't it? Clothes dry karpa ghalta outside. So evaporation is also being used to dry the clothes in the backyard or in the veranda or in the gallery. So What is evaporation? It is a process of converting water into its water vapor. Best example of evaporation is to obtain salt, to obtain salt from sea water. So which method you can use to separate? You may get question for exam. Which method is used to separate salt from seawater? So we use evaporation method to separate salt from sea water. Okay, the method is called evaporation. So here you can see the method of evaporation. That's an activity. I will also send a link for you about this activity. Later on I will do it. So that's called a tripod stand. Okay, a stand. Okay, there's a wire gauge. Okay, that's called wire gauge. Okay, and we have this evaporating dish over here. In this, what I have added, we have added salty water. What we have added? We have added salty water. So it's water containing salt. So it is a mixture. So it is a mixture of water with salt. Okay, you can say a salt solution. So after pouring the salt solution in this evaporating dish, okay, like this, a big dish like this, okay. So what happened? Because of the heat, what will happen? All the water will get converted into water vapor. All the water will get converted into water vapor. And what will be left in the dish? What will be left in the dish? Only salt. So the process of converting of water into water vapor is called evaporation. So this method is used to separate salt from salt solution. Okay, boiling. Now boiling is also same like evaporation. What is the difference now? In the boiling, the water is getting converted to water vapor. Again same, but boiling is also a kind of evaporation. A kind of evaporation. But what is the difference now in the boiling? What is the difference in the boiling? So here the difference is we boil the liquid at its boiling point, or he supply lot of heat. Okay, heat is supplied in huge quantity. The water, the liquid is boiled at its boiling point. Do you know the boiling point of water? Do you know the boiling point of water? What is the boiling point of water? You can use the chat box. What is the boiling point of water? At what temperature water start boiling? That means there has to be some temperature at which the water is going to start boiling and it's going to get converted into water vapor, right? So there has to be some temperature, and the temperature is 100 degrees Celsius. The boiling, yes, Viraj is absolutely correct. The boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, so here again, now suppose you have a mixture of, there's an activity for you. You have a mixture of sand and salt. You have a mixture of sand and salt. How are you going to separate it? How will you separate this mixture? How will you separate this mixture? Now, can you use hand picking method? Can you use hand picking method? Here, can you use hand picking method? No, right? We cannot use hand picking because both sand and salt particles are very fine size, very tiny size, very small in size. We cannot use hand picking method. So what you can do? We can put this mixture of sand and salt in a beaker and we can add water to it. Okay. So what will happen? What will happen? The salt will get dissolved in water. So you will have salt will get mixed in water, whereas the sand will not get mixed in water. Sand will be separated. Then using a filter paper, what you can do? You can allow that water to pass through it. So you will have a clear salt solution in this container, clear salt solution, whereas the sand particle will remain on top. Okay. After that, what you can do? You can use the evaporation method. You can use evaporation method to separate the salt from the salt solution, isn't it? So you will have a sand here separated and you will have the salt here separated. So in this method we are using two methods. What is the method? One is filtration method. One is filtration method and the other one is evaporation method to separate salt and sand mixture. Okay, you may get, this is one application kind of question. So you may get question for example, how will you separate sand from salt? You can separate sand from salt by adopting two methods. One is first at allowing the mixture to get mixed with water so that salt will get mixed in water. Then you can allow that water to pass through the filter paper. So using filtration, the sand will be separated and that clear salt water you can allow it to heat on an evaporating dish and you can use this evaporation method to separate or to obtain salt. Okay. Next one we have condensation. What is condensation? So condensation is a process of conversion of water vapor into liquid. Now it is opposite. In previous case evaporation, what was happening? Liquid was getting converted to gas form, isn't it? In condensation we already have the gas form which is getting converted into a liquid form. So it is just the opposite of evaporation. So condensation is just opposite of evaporation. In evaporation, liquid was getting converted to the gas form, whereas in condensation, what is happening? The gas is getting converted into liquid form. So if you keep a glass tumbler and in the glass tumbler, if you put some ice cubes you put in the glass tumbler. Okay, what did you notice? After some time the ice will start melting and it will going to convert into liquid. That is there. But outside the glass you will find tiny water droplet, isn't it? So from where the water droplets have come, that means the water is present in the surrounding as a form of water vapor. So when this water vapor touches any cool surface, what will happen? They immediately condense. This water vapor condense. Means what? That is, this water vapor get converted from vapor form, that is the gas form, to the liquid form. So what is condensation? The process of conversion of water vapor into liquid form, and that method is called condensation. Now for the condensation to occur, you know that when the water, otherwise also water vapor is present in the surrounding, but when it touch any cold surface, any cool surface or any cold surface, then only it will start condensing. Before that, will it condense? Whatever water is there, now also there will be water vapor present in your surrounding, but it is not condensing, right? But if you keep a bowl of ice there or cold water there, then only you will find the water droplet outside that cold water. Why this is happening? So condensation take place when the temperature is decreased. So when condensation take place, when the temperature is low. When evaporation take place, when the temperature is high. So condensation take place when the temperature is less, whereas evaporation take place when the temperature is more. So it is very interesting phenomena. The evaporation take place at a higher temperature, whereas condensation take place at a lower temperature. That's how you see the water cycle. You must have learned about water cycle. So water vapor, all the water vapor that is there in the surrounding, they goes up, they forms a cloud, and this when the cloud reach and echo, as they move the clouds higher up in the sky, what happened, the temperature become less and less, it is very very cold, so the water from the clouds start pouring out in form of rain, and that's how you get rainfall. Yes, so you have learned about it in the lower classes. So that's how, and you also have another chapter there we are going to learn about it. Okay, so water cycle, so condensation. Okay, so in this picture you can see what is happening. Can you see the water droplets? Yes, you can see the water droplets, and that's what is happening in the glass. Outside the glass, condensation is taking place. Next method we have now sedimentation and decantation. Okay, what is sedimentation and decantation? You try this activity today at home. Okay, this activity you are going to try. What are you going to take? You are going to take a sand or soil, okay, or soil, and you are going to add it to water, and you will have a muddy water. Okay, you will have a muddy water. Is sand and soil mixable? We have learned about mixable and immiscible. They are immiscible or insoluble. Okay, it doesn't get mixed with water, so you can obtain an immiscible solution. You allow that solution to allow it to and leave it undisturbed for some time. After some time, what you will notice, that this muddy water, all the mud or the sand particles settles at the bottom. All the mud particles will settle at the bottom, and whereas you will have some clear water on top. This method is called sedimentation. What is sedimentation? It is a method or a process of settling heavy solid particle in a mixture at the bottom. So after you immediately will you find the sedimentation process taking place? No. When you leave the muddy water for some time, maybe for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or more than that, what you will know that after waiting for some time, you will find that the sand particles start settling down. So the process of settling heavy particles at the bottom is called sedimentation. Now, when you take the same container or the same glass tumbler and now slowly pour the clear water into the other beaker. So this method is called now decant. What are you doing? You are decanting. Sedimentation, allow it to settle. Decantation, decant means what? Pour into, empty it into another container. Okay, so the process of pouring out a clear upper liquid without disturbing is called sediment. Okay, this without disturbing that sediment, this settled particle is called a sediment. So when you slowly decant only the clear water into another container without disturbing the sediment, the method is called decantation. Decant means empty it in another container. Decantation. So sedimentation, decantation. So what is sedimentation? If the mixture is having muddy water or soil mixed in water, you allow it to settle for some time, that method is called sedimentation. The sediment settle, the smaller particle, heavy particles will settle, and you will have a clear water. This clear water you pour it in another container. This pouring of clear water in another container is called decantation. Okay, clear? Okay, now let's move on to Lucy the animation here. What do you notice? Which method out of sedimentation or decantation? You see, this is sedimentation. What is this method? Sedimentation. Okay, look at the animation. And now it is pouring in another container. Now what did you notice? Decantation. So both the method you can see in the animation. Okay, so what you have seen in the both methods, sedimentation and decantation. Now to remove further impurities, you are using a filter paper to remove the further impurities. So sedimentation, decantation, and here the third method that is used is filtration. So sometimes more than one method is being used. Not necessarily always one method will be used. More than one method is used to separate the component of mixture. So in the animation you have seen sedimentation, decantation. This is again decantation using this kind of funnel, and this funnel is called separating funnel. Okay, here you can do the decantation method. You can use the separating funnel to separate liquid mixture. Okay, if both component of mixture is liquid, we know that oil do not get mixed in water. Suppose you have oil mixed in water. Okay, so oil and a mixture of oil and water can be separated using a separating funnel. Okay, what is this funnel called? It is called a separating funnel. So here you know that oil will form a layer on top and water will form the layer down. So you can there is a knob here. So I will open the knob, only water I will take out, and as soon as I reach at the junction, I will stop, and then you can remove the oil. So this method is also called decantation using separating funnel, which you are going to learn in your higher classes. Now let us see what is solution. We have learned about solution in the previous class, where we have seen what is solution, what is soluble mixture and insoluble solution. Remember, mixable and immiscible. Now when you take salt and when you add in water, will it dissolve or will not dissolve? Will you going to get solution or no? Yes, you get a soluble mixture, isn't it? A soluble mixture you are going to get. That means salt dissolve in water. Salt get dissolved in water. Okay. So here solution is what? So the mixture that you get is called a solution. The mixture, this mixture is called solution. What is it called? Solution. So what is solution? Solution is made up of two components. Okay, here the two components are, one component is salt, other component is water. But the salt is present in less amount, whereas the water is present in more amount. So the solution is made up of two components. One which is present in less amount is called solute. One which is present in more amount is called solvent. So which is solute? Salt will be solute, whereas with the component which is present in more amount is called solvent, and you obtain a salt solution. So what is solution? Solution is a mixture of two components. What are the two components? Solute and solvent. What is solute? That component of a mixture which get dissolved in the other component. Salt dissolved in water, or if you are taking sugar, sugar dissolved in water. So that component of mixture which get dissolved in other component is called solute, which is always present in less amount. What is solvent? That component of a mixture which is present in large quantity and which dissolves the other component. So water is that component which will make the salt dissolve in it. Okay, so solution is made up of solute and solvent. So for more detail, you are going to learn in your higher classes. What is solute? What is solvent? You are going to learn in higher classes. Right now, don't concentrate. Right now, see solution. Solution is a mixture of how many components? Two components are there. One is solvent, other one is solute. As I already told you, the solvent is that component of a solution that dissolves the other component in it. Okay, for example, salt, sugar, lemon juice. Okay, all these components are solvent, whereas water is a solvent. Okay, that component of a solution that is dissolved in the solvent. Okay, sorry, solvent is that component of a solution that dissolves the other component in it. Okay, all these examples are examples of solute, not solvent. Okay, so here the solvent is water. Okay, solvent is water. So water is a solvent. Extremely sorry for that. And all these examples, salt, sugar, lemon juice, all these examples are of solute. Okay, this part is clear. We are almost towards the last part of the lesson. Okay, we are almost finished with the entire lesson. Okay, we have seen what is solution right now. Now you can make a saturated solution. What's the meaning of saturated solution? Why I have explained you solute, why I have explained you solvent, because now we are coming to the last part of the chapter wherein we are going to learn about saturated solution. Saturated solution is the one in which no more solute can dissolve. No more solute can dissolve. You take a container, a beaker or a glass tumbler, you put a water and you add 1 spoon of salt to it. Okay, 1 spoon of salt you add. You dissolve it. You will find it will get dissolved. You add another spoon of salt now. You just add the quantity, make it more. Okay, you add another quantity of salt. Okay, so you add one more quantity of salt. Another spoon. That will, you will find now it is not getting dissolved. Okay, so you will see after adding 2 spoon, maybe it will dissolve after doing some little bit of work of stirring. Now you take another spoon of salt. Now you will notice third spoon is not getting dissolved in the water. So now that solution in which no more solute can dissolve, that solution is called saturated solution. Otherwise we know that salt dissolve in water, isn't it? Salt do dissolve in water, but now you know that salt is not getting dissolved in water. That means it has reached its saturation level. So saturated solution means what? A solution in which no more solute can be dissolved. You can try this activity today at home. Whatever activity you do today, you will message me in the chat box later on in the comment section. Comment that teacher, I have done this activity, teacher, I have done this. So you will find this very, very interesting. How to store what is saturated solution? This is a solution in which no more solute means no more. I cannot add more salt here. So it's a saturated solution. But it's interesting, you will find if you heat the water little bit, and then you will know that immediately the salt will get dissolved. So by heating the saturation point you can increase. That means after heating you can add the more salt in it. That's how we make sugar syrup for mithai, isn't it? Sugar syrup, साखरेचो पाक जो तयार करता मिठाई करपाक, गुलाब जामुन, rasgullas. How we do it? We dissolve lot of sugar in water, and if it is not getting dissolved, what do we do for the sugar syrup? We heat and dissolve it. Okay, that's the last part of it. What we have learned in the entire lesson, let us now summarize. We have learned about what is mixture. We have understood the mixture. We know that why we need to separate the components of the mixture, because some component may be useful, some component may be non-useful. So we need to separate this. And then we have the different methods of filtration. Start from hand picking, then sieving, churning, trashing, winnowing, evaporation, condensation, sedimentation, decantation, and finally we have filtration also, sieving also, and finally we have learned about what is saturated solution. With that, we have finished the entire lesson. If you have any doubt, you can ask me in the comment section, or you can approach me later on. Oh, you have not understood anything, you can go back and watch the video again. Thank you so much, students.